welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all okay. Such a gorgeous day today, and it's actually World Mental Health Day, and I hadn't planned on filming this video today. I didn't actually know it was this day today, but I just got like a pang inside of me saying that now is the time to share my story. So today I'm going to be sharing with you my personal journey of battling through an eating disorder and how I journeyed through that. I got therapy, I got help, and I really feel like I've been healed from the inside out. And now it's like not even an issue. Like I was healed to the core of me, of where it initially started many years ago. And I had to retrain my thinking, bring healing to situations in order for me to live a free and fulfilled life. So I'll just take you back to when it started, or when I recognised that it was a problem and I needed external help. I couldn't deal with this on my own. Just bear with me because I can already feel myself getting upset, which I really didn't think this would happen, because I'm quite strong about this, and because I have a totally different perception now and I am 100% healed, it's really not an issue. But I guess I know that I'm opening up now to the world. It's not like a one-on-one, and preparing my mind that everybody can know about this is a little bit overwhelming. But if I can just help one person, or however many people, in sharing my story, then my story is here to be told. So let's begin. Okay, so I'm 31 now, and when I was 18 I left college, and then I applied to do a dance teaching and performance degree because it was something that I loved doing. And had I not have gone to uni that year, if I decided to take a gap year, the following year the uni fees went up dramatically. So I knew I had to kind of make the decision, am I going to uni or am I not? So I did the dance degree, and it was amazing. The best years of my life, well, I say my life, but at the time, they were amazing. I treasure those years where I worked so hard in the studio, but also doing all the analytical work and the psychology behind movement and dance and all that kind of thing. And they were brilliant years. So basically, anyway, I think I was in the second year of uni, and I figured out that I could make myself sick. And as soon as I figured that out, I started doing it on a more frequent basis, up until the point where I was doing it after every mealtime, snack. I couldn't eat anything without feeling guilty. I was destroying myself from the inside out. It was quite a lonely time, and I think it only went on a few months until I decided that I needed to tell my mum about it. And I was with Eamon at the time. So I met Eamon when I was 18, so this was when I was probably about 19 or something, and I opened up to them, but taking me back right to that point where it was just so lonely. And okay, so my eating disorder started probably when I was in second year of university. I figured out that I could make myself sick, and then I just started doing it more and more, and it kind of progressed into quite a bad eating disorder where after every meal I was making myself sick if it had, I don't know, any carbs in it, or I felt like I'd eaten too much, or I'd literally just binged on everything that's awful for you, everything delicious, and then I'd go and make myself sick. And it was really, really bad time. Generally in life I was happy. At the time I was living out of my family home and I was living in student accommodation. I was living with a couple of other girls, but I kind of felt like I was in the house quite a lot on my own because they would be going out, and I guess I felt quite lonely because Eamon at the time had moved back to Manchester and I didn't have a car at that point, so it's not like I could just quickly drive home and have the freedom to do this and that. I lived in the library quite a lot. I just had my head down, doing my work, but I also was battling this demon, I guess, that I felt was consuming my life at that point. And the days where I did feel like I was eating healthier, I'd be going to the gym before dance, doing 10k on the treadmill, doing toning exercises, then I'd have a day full of doing like a physical day in the studio rather than doing all the work behind it. And I was burning myself out on both ends basically. So I don't want to dwell too much on the actual eating disorder itself, but it got to a point where it was really, really bad. I'd opened up to my mum about it and Eamon, and in some ways I felt like that made it harder because after every meal they were watching or listening out for me going to the toilet straight after, and then I got really frustrated when I feel like I couldn't go and make myself sick. It sounds ridiculous, but it's not like I could just suddenly stop doing it. And then it became a bit of a battle in our relationships because Eamon would get mad that I would continue to do it, or I'd be shouting at him just let me go and do this and then I'll feel better. And it was at that point that I kind of realised, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing? I was just so lonely on those, at certain times where I just remember like one day walking around the uni campus eating a whole Victoria sponge cake, and then I went and found one of the toilets in the university and made myself sick. Like, what was I doing? There was like no self-control over the situation. And I remember walking out of my class at uni, and I was just kind of hovering around the reception area, and I looked down and there's this card on the table, and it was basically a lady who's a therapist talking about eating disorders just briefly on this card. And I picked it up, and on my way home I called her and we spoke on the phone for about 2 hours, and she got me. She just totally understood my mental thinking behind what I was doing and the frustrations of it. So yes, I spoke to this lady. She was called Shelley, and we spoke for like 2 hours, and already I just felt like this burden had started to lift from my shoulders, and it was from that moment that I then began going to see her every week. And this is how, when you're a student, just let me say, because I went to see her for 2 hours every week and it cost me £80, but I knew that I had to go and do that for me to get better to the core, and that's how much I wanted it. You know, I was quite a poor student. I didn't have loads of money. I worked through all my uni, so I worked every Saturday and Wednesday afternoon when I was off on a Wednesday afternoon, so I had that money and my student loan, but I spent a lot of that on the therapy. So that's how much I kind of wanted to get this sorted and dealt with from the core. So Shelley is from the association called SEED, which is Support and Education for People with Eating Disorders. So I just generally saw her on a one-to-one basis, and we went right back to even being a baby and my first memories, things that maybe my mum had told me from when she was pregnant with me that might have been passed down to me. And there were issues when my mum was pregnant with me. My mum and dad split up, and she was a single parent of 3 at the time, and she must have been going through a lot of things emotionally, and without that purposely kind of being passed on to me, it was, and especially in my first year of childhood, like the different logistics of my family. So yeah, we went right back from that moment up until the current day, and anything from primary school, high school, every little moment that I could remember and how it made me feel, we put it on a timeline, we spoke about it, we talked about it, we discussed what would have made me feel better had I have said this or had they have said that, and how that has been ingrained. Like at primary school, I remember someone calling me a fat rich bitch. I wasn't fat at primary school. I was maybe a little bit bigger than a lot of the other girls, but I wasn't fat. I just wasn't skinny like a lot, like a lot of young girls, they're very lean and things like that. I was never like that. I wasn't chunky even, but I remember one of my friends saying that I was just big boned, and now like I know I'm not big boned, but kids say these things without thinking of the consequences, not knowing the consequences. But as a little girl, these things were ingrained into my mind about who I was, what I looked like, and it's crazy really. And this is what has made me more aware of my children and how we have to be so careful with what we say to our children, because they remember. It kind of becomes like glue on them. Like they take that as face value of who they are. As you get older, you learn not to listen to insults. You learn to believe in who you are no matter what anybody else says. But as children, it's hard not to believe what so-and-so says or your friend says about you. So this is why, as a mum, I really try and build my children up. I don't want them to obviously be big-headed, but I want them to know the truth about who they are. Like, they're beautiful and they're made in God's perfect image. And they're beautiful miracles. Every child is. We all are, So, yes. So going back to the timeline, we went through every moment. I'd been through different traumatic situations, in teenage years, and we dealt with those, and I could feel myself starting to kind of be released from this eating disorder. I had to do a food diary about what I was eating, how I was feeling, even if I felt fat or I felt ugly or not worthy, I would write it down in this food journey. And I've still got them because I just think it's good to kind of reflect back of where I was at and where I am now. And I stopped making myself sick, probably from one of the first times I went to see her, or it reduced significantly. I would have relapses when I'd become emotionally unstable about something, or I felt like I'd really overeaten something and I couldn't handle the thought of it still being inside me. I'd have to go and make myself sick. But generally it more or less stopped. So the reason why I got my eating disorder, I think, is from a whole host of reasons. Some to do with like how I may have been treated by certain people in my life, traumatic experiences that had happened in my life near the time, just also being wrapped up in the culture where you had to be skinny. I'd buy those stupid magazines that I haven't bought since those therapy days, where it would all be talking about how to lose this much weight, and it was all around the size 0 time, if you remember that. That's when I had the eating disorder, and it was all crazy all over the magazines. Anyway, I stopped buying all those magazines. I brought healing to these situations that I felt were big parts of where this had all come from. And we did role plays, we talked about things. I really tried to forgive the people who had hurt me, even if they didn't know that they'd hurt me. I had to bring healing to the situation myself. I prayed a lot about it. I prayed that God would help me have a soft heart and forgive these people who had made me feel this certain way or had done something to me. And this was really the start of the transformation, where I was able to also forgive myself for doing this to myself, and that it wasn't going to define who I am and what I was going to be. The big thing that I did have to work on was how I perceived myself, because I really didn't view myself as beautiful or worthy. I compared myself a lot, and I was kind of like my own worst enemy, like my thoughts eating my mind alive almost. So yeah, there was a lot going on. It was a constant body, mind, spiritual battle going on. Although when I realised that I had an eating disorder, when I went to see my therapist, I'd realised that I'd actually been dealing with my eating disorder a lot longer than I thought, because I used to count my calories and how much I'd eat in a day, and then try and burn that many calories at the gym, sometimes on a daily basis. And I do that in my college days and things like that. So I don't actually know how long I had been dealing with this eating disorder, because that was going on as well. So yeah, I must have been going through it for quite a few years until it started to embody itself in being bulimic, and then / anorexia. When I wasn't making myself sick, I'd really not be eating very much. One of the worst things about being bulimic though is that you don't really go crazy skinny. You know, like when you see girls who have got anorexia, you can just see it a mile off that they're unwell and they're not in a good place. Whereas bulimia, it can be hidden. You can kind of look like a normal size and you're just destroying yourself on the inside, and nobody would know for years upon years. So that was amazing, and going to see my therapist. At the same time, over the summer break at university, I think this was in between second and third year, so this is where my eating disorder was quite bad really, but I was seeing my therapist for a full year, so I'd have times where I'd go back to making myself sick, and then times where, you know, I'd fully stop and be feeling like really strong and brave and feel like I've totally got this, and then I'd relapse. So I guess this was all the journey of kind of building me up to be stronger and stronger. So anyway, in the summer between these uni years, I went over to America with a couple of other girlfriends who were on the same course as me. And we went to do a dance course in America with a man called Daniel Leven. I will put his details down below because he was amazing. At university, I became really attached to a part of the course called somatics, which is the body from eye perspective. So it's where you move with your eyes closed, and you move from an internal experience out, and it's very therapeutic. It's not therapy, but it's therapeutic practice where you can shift through things, through situations that you may be going through, and ultimately bring healing to it as well. So anyway, because I love this so much, that's why I wanted to go to America to do this dance course called Shake Your Soul. Tiny bit like Zumba, whereas it really gets you moving, invigorated, you feel wild, you feel free, But with Shake Your Soul, it practices the leader from within. So it helps bring confidence to you as the individual, as well as feeling in such a strong sense of community in the class. It's amazing. Like, it's so hard to explain if you've never taken a class, because the way that you feel after it, you just feel so alive, so awake, so happy, so full of zen. And I had to learn how to teach this so I could bring it back to the UK. Through this is when I'd kind of stopped making myself sick, but instead I was working so hard at the gym. I even joined the gym for 2 weeks in America and went every day, because I just couldn't handle not doing anything and then eating, you know, bad things in America, like all the ice cream with the chocolate fudge sauce and all that kind of thing. So yeah, we joined the gym for 2 weeks. And looking at it now, it was because I was still battling through my eating disorder, but I was letting it out in a different way. There's one experience that I wanted to talk about when we were in America. So we're doing this dance process, and it was a bit like therapy. It basically is like dance movement therapy, and the whole session started where we just kind of had to draw ourselves, and it could look like a kid's drawing. You could just do scribbles or anything, but I went for this black crayon and I was just scribbling as hard as I could, as messy as I could. I would be doing strike throughs and just it was like an aggressive piece of scribble, and it looked dark and not a nice place to be in. From that, we had to move from that place. We had to move from that image with your eyes closed. This is, and the reason why we close our eyes is because so we become detached from the outside world, and we go into ourselves and how we truly feel. And also it kind of stops us from worrying about other people looking at us or that kind of thing. But throughout this whole movement process, you do have a partner, a friend, someone who witnesses what you're doing. And this is like it's more as someone to kind of feel like they're holding you through this time. They're not judging you, they're not trying to interpret what you're doing, they're just watching with an open heart, open mind, everything, just so that they can verbalise back what they saw from the movement. And I remember myself dancing like really hard and just angry. I was angry, I was hurt, and I was dancing from this place. I felt angry, upset. I remember crying whilst I was doing that movement. And then from that, I remember cocooning myself down. Like, I had my arms around my head, I was kneeling on the floor, and I just felt so lonely. Like, I just didn't want to be seen. I was in this place of complete loneliness and darkness. And then just at that moment, I felt the warmth and comfort of these massive arms around me, just giving me a massive hug. And this is Stacey, who was my witness, but she came in on the movement, and it was almost like, the way I see it, it was like I was a cocoon. I was this caterpillar, this kind of ugly caterpillar, like slunking its way, wrapping myself up in all these things that weren't true about me, like hate towards myself. And I was cocooning myself that much that I just couldn't be free. I couldn't be the person that I was created to be. And I came to a place of complete stillness. Then when I felt these arms around me giving me the biggest hug, I just felt myself soften. And I remember it so clearly. I began to break out of this cocoon, and little by little Stacey moved with me, and it was a struggle because her arms were heavy, but they were so loving and so warm. And eventually I managed to kind of grow from this small place to just being free, opening my wings out like a butterfly. And I remember moving like a butterfly, and she would move with me until I broke free and flew on my own. And that was such a pivotal moment in this whole journey, where I realised that I am beautiful. It doesn't matter what people say about you. People might try and bring you down. People do things that hurt you. But you are beautiful, and you are strong, and you're free to go and live the life that you want to go and live. You are capable of so much more than you think. And from this place of me moving into this transformation, we then had all these magazines out, and we then had to rip out things of what we saw ourselves as now from moving into that. And there was this massive butterfly, and I stuck it over this black messy crayon. I stuck it over it. I stuck people smiling, being happy, flowers, things that brought me smiles and happiness. And it was from that moment that I fully kind of transformed the way I thought about myself. And I came back from that trip from America, and I remember thinking, it's okay to say you're beautiful. It's okay to think I'm beautiful, because I am. You are. And they are. She is. He is. You are beautiful. Like, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. I'm a miracle. Like, every baby is a miracle. They're here, and it's crazy that like these cells can form into a human, and like that's just so beautiful, so yeah. So now when people might say, oh, you don't really get asked, do you think you're beautiful? But I say yes, because I believe I am beautiful from the inside out, but also because I accept who I am, and I am beautiful. Is that okay to say? Can you say that about yourself? It doesn't have to be how you look on the exterior. You know more than anybody someone who is the world's most gorgeous, beautiful person on the outside. Give them a bad heart, and the way that they treat people might not be very nice. They can become the ugliest person in a matter of seconds. So yes, that was the big transformation process that still now makes me be like, wow. And I still thank Stacey today for doing what she did. I don't know if she's actually aware of what she did for me that day, but it was the biggest transformation process that I ever went through. And because I knew how powerful that was, going through that whole movement process, after my degree was finished, I got a scholarship because I was the only one to get a first in my year, and that meant that I got the master's free. So I went on to do, it's called somatic movement education. connections to the living body. And I spent a whole year doing this masters, and I got a distinction in it, which was amazing because there was times where I just felt inadequate, like I wasn't absorbing all the information that I needed to absorb. We studied a lot of the psychologists like Carl Jung and people like that who studied a lot of people's movements and their interpretation of it and all that kind of thing. So basically, the way I was transformed, my thinking about me becoming this beautiful butterfly, it meant that I could support this kind of this space and this therapeutic practice to others. And after my degree, I set up a dance company called Life and Soul Dance Company, where I could kind of offer this kind of guidance to people. But the only thing is, over here, it's not really that well known. People know of dance movement therapy, but they don't know of somatic movement education. But at the same time, Eamon and I had just bought a house together, so we had a mortgage to pay, and that kind of took its toll on me, which meant that I then just carried on working in the family business full time and kind of dropped doing all the Shake Your Soul classes and the other kind of one-to-one sessions that I was doing. And even now I do feel quite sad that like I've got all this kind of skill set behind me, but I'm not using it. I don't know, I feel like it's been this year really that it's kind of been burning in me a little bit more. I need to do something else with my blog, with my YouTube, with my social channels. I need to do something that is giving back to women, men, if they're watching, but I feel a strong connection with women. There is just something more I want to give. So I feel like this is the beginning of me talking about this situation. I brought healing to myself because I went to see a therapist for over a year. It cost me a lot of money, but I knew I had to invest that money in the future of my well-being. I also went on the America trip where that was just a whole transforming journey, and that was for 4 weeks, 2 weeks at a time. I also did a whole year of my masters where daily we'd be working with moving from our inner selves, closing our eyes, taking ourselves inwards, meditating, and bringing this sense of self out into the world. So I did a lot of work on my inner self, my mind, body, spirit. All the way through that, I prayed daily, I wrote a prayer journal, and I asked for God's strength to kind of bring me through this. And I was like, why have I been through this? Why? And the only thing I could realise or fathom or try and think about why I have been through this is because I need to help others who are going through it or have been through it and still kind of going through this daily battle. So this is the start. I'm opening up about what I've been through. It hasn't been easy, but I really wanted to be 100% healed, and I believe that I am. I believe that since 2000 and when did I finish uni? 2008, 2009. Since 2009, I have had no relapses. My relationship with food is totally different. I love myself, try and love myself more. Yes, there are times where I think, oh gosh, I put on weight, my boobs are saggy, I just don't look great, my skin's awful, I need to lose a bit of weight, I need to tone up, I've got so much cellulite. Yes, I'm a woman, like those thoughts are never going to go away, but it doesn't bring me to that point where I start punishing myself and start hurting myself. I love myself through those times. When I've had a baby and I've put on like over 3 stone, it's just like a gentle process of me to get back to how I normally am. And whether whatever shape or size we are, we've got to find our inner happiness first, and then learn to accept who you are, learn to accept your beauty, and learn that you are beautiful. Don't compare yourself. That is something that I'm still quite bad at doing, and I really hope and pray that I get stronger in myself with that. You know, like, social media is like the worst place for comparing yourself, but I guess that's one of the reasons why I want to do this, because I want to have a different strand to my work. I want this to start being another journey that I want to venture on. I want to help women build confidence in who they are and help them see themselves in such a positive and beautiful light. And if I can help even just one woman with their own perception of their self, then that's worth it. Just quickly before I go, I really have to say thank you so much to my amazing husband Eamon, who helped me through the whole process, journey, whatever you want to call it, of me going through my eating disorder. And he stood by me 100% of the time and kind of held my hand through it. Even the times where he had to shut the door and cry himself because I wasn't taking in how he saw me. And I can only imagine how much that would have hurt him at the time. But yeah, I'm there now. And I'm just glad he kind of stuck by me and was my kind of backbone through that time as well. So thank you, my love. Sorry, I keep remembering different things. And I just wanted to say, if you're watching this and you do have an eating disorder, you might dip in and out of an eating disorder, because I know that that can happen. Some people live with eating disorders for their whole lives. Please, please go and see somebody and speak to somebody, because you don't have to live with it for the rest of your life. You can be healed 100%. Honestly, like, I don't even think about what I'm eating now. Yeah, there might be certain weeks before a holiday or a special event where I'm a little bit more aware, like I wouldn't eat a full pizza or something like that, but it doesn't stop me eating the things that I still really want to eat. Things can change, but you have to make the first step. You have to want to change. You have to want something different. So please go and see somebody and speak to somebody. I promise you'll feel 100% better. And don't worry if you make the odd relapse, that's okay. That doesn't define you. Just get up on your feet again, move forward, continue to move forward. Even if it's at a snail's pace, you're still moving forward. So yes, I just really want to encourage you to just speak up. Speak to me. I'm free for you to message as much as you want, and I'll try and help you in the right direction and to give you more kind of expert advice from other people who I know in the field. So yes, we're all together in this, and you don't have to suffer alone. There's too many people out there who love you and want to help you, and I know that from that place you can then go on to help other people as well. So yeah, share the love. Don't forget, you are beautiful. And I'll see you again soon. Bye.